Welcome to our brand new show, the 12th Man. Get in, we're on a set, lads. What on earth has happened? We finally built it. Are you excited?
2 years in the making. Big boy stuff. Look at Van Straten.
I'm so excited.
Ecstatic.
So excited. He's dressed up for the occasion. On this show, we are going to be looking at all of the biggest talking points from the weekend ahead, as well as the Sky Sports Fantasy League we have created that you can still join. All of the details are in the description and on screen now. The highest points from week one will win a brand new pair of Adidas Nemesis boots for your feet. Yes, it can actually happen. Not your hands. First game we're looking at then, Arsenal versus Leicester City. Friday night football on Sky Sports, under the lights. Excited, but are Arsenal fans. Alexis Sanchez, is he starting, is he not? Pato, what's happening?
Well, obviously he's been absent this summer after participating at the Confederations Cup, and a lack of pre-season could be a bit of a worry, but frankly, I think Arsenal have to play him if he's fit.
Really?
Well, last season, look, Arsenal lost their first game of the year to Liverpool. They lost at home, and then at the end of the season, they missed out on Champions League football to Liverpool by 1 point. If they'd drawn that game, they would have got Champions League football. So what that tells me is Arsene Wenger maybe needs to amend his ways this season, where he lets people come back in dribs and drabs and gradually get their form back. I think he immediately needs to put his strongest players out there. And Alexis Sanchez, with 24 goals and 10 assists last season, is by far our strongest player right now.
Yeah, 100%. You've also got Alexandre Lacazette, though, starting in this game. Obviously, you're signing in the summer, probably 2 years too late, but for £52 million, he's through the door. Last season, averaging 1.03 goals per 90 minutes, which is seriously impressive stuff. We know that Arsenal have needed a striker. I personally think he's going to be the man to open Leicester's backline up in this game. Last season's results were 0-0 and 1-0 respectively, and the only goal was a Robert Huth own goal. So if there's one man who's going to score in this game, I think it's going to be Lacazette. I'm interested to see how he plays alongside Mesut Ozil as well. That's going to be a deadly partnership. But Leicester have got some threats as well now. Iheanacho's come through the door.
Yes, the Foxes finally got their man. Probably the best bit of business in the transfer window for £25 million. Although Manchester City got their buyback clause in there, didn't they? That was initially a sticking point. It's now set at £50 million. This is a guy who was involved in a goal every 74 minutes for the last two seasons at Manchester City. So no doubt he'll be a threat. But where will he come in, I hear you cry, Pato?
Where?
I did cry that.
Well, I reckon Craig Shakespeare will go from a 4-4-1-1 that worked well for him last season with Okazaki as that man who linked the midfield to the attack. I think he'll move it to a 4-4-2, more traditional 4-4-2, and play Iheanacho up front with Jamie Vardy, the pace merchant.
Tantalising.
Which, you know, Okazaki's unfortunate to drop out because when Leicester were struggling under Ranieri and Shakespeare came in, one of the big changes he made was to bring Shinji Okazaki back in, and he did extremely well. Although Leicester have some other signings too that will be debuting. The likes of Harry Maguire, who they signed for 17 million from Hull. I wonder where he'll come in. Will he come in for captain Wes Morgan? Rob Huth, the own goal machine? I'm not sure, although Leicester, not great pre-season so far. They've won 1 in 5, lost 2-1 to Burton Albion.
Burton Albion, what
a result.
are they in?
So,
2, I think.
But guys, who do you think will win out of Arsenal and Leicester? Let us know quickly in the poll above before we move on.
Now I've picked another game for us to talk about, and it's between one team who's had a great summer and one team who've had a diabolical summer. The teams are Man United and West Ham.
Oh yeah.
Who's had the great summer? Who do you reckon?
I wonder who you're talking about. Is it possibly Manchester United that are coming out of this for the good?
Who's a key figure for you?
Well, I'm quite interested to see, I know there's a lot of fanfare around Lukaku, but I'm quite interested to see where Nemanja Matic fits in this Manchester United side. Joe assures me now he's signed for £40 million as a nearly 29-year-old. United will revert to a 4-3-3 with a Herrera, Matic and Pogba midfield, which is a pretty tasty prospect, and that might free Pogba up to go a little bit more further forward, give him a bit more licence to create, to contribute, goal scoring wise. But yeah, Chelsea fans are saying that's okay, you can have him, he's regressing, and there are stats to back this up.
Don't tell me.
Last season, he made a combined 3 tackles and interceptions per game. The season before, he was making 5.5. However, was Kante doing that work for him last season? Is that a little bit misleading? Because he did get 7 assists last season, which is more than any Manchester United midfielder in Jose Mourinho's side.
That's impressive.
But who do you want to talk about, Pan?
Well, look, you talked about a bit of fanfare for Romelu Lukaku. Just so you know, I play the trumpet, mate. That's a fun Patrick Van Straten fact. And we move on to Romelu Lukaku. Of course, £75 million he's joined for this summer, and he is primed for a huge season at Man United. I really think he's going to be sensational, getting better year on year. Over the last 3 seasons, he's missed 4 Premier League games.
It's unbelievable.
He's a beast. An absolute beast.
He is fit all the time, and he's been getting better and better on the field as well. 3 seasons ago, I think it was 0.3 goals per game he was contributing. Yeah. 2 seasons ago, 0.5. Last season, 0.7. Wow. So this is a guy who is approaching unbelievable levels, and he's not yet hitting his peak. He's going to go into a better team with a better attack, and I think that this season you might see absolutely frightening output from Romelu Lukaku.
Talking of frightening, I am a little bit scared about the man who could come back to bite us on the bum. It's Chicharito, aka the Little P. Don't do that. Look, we sold him in 2015 for £7.2 million. It seems such a small amount now. And he's done well at Leverkusen, hasn't he? Obviously, last season, not as well as the season before when he was doing ridiculous numbers. I think it was 0.71 goals per 90 minutes. Last season dropped slightly to around 0.55, but still a pretty solid output for a £16 million signing. Yeah. Obviously, the wages here are an issue, £140,000 a week. But West Ham fans don't care. The issue, though, for me, is the creativity around him. Now, people really talked up Lanzini as a good creator in this West Ham team. He got 2 assists last season. That really shocked me. Throughout the whole campaign, he got 2 assists. However, they've brought in Arnautovic, haven't they, as well? But he only got 5 assists. What they're hoping is that Chicharito is the man to put the chances away that they create, because they both create more than that. Lanzini was creating 1.8 chances per 90, and Marco Arnautovic was creating 1.66 chances per 90.
Lanzini was playing quite deep as well, right?
Yeah, sort of. But also, they didn't have a reliable striker week in, week out that was putting away the chances, did they? And that's what they're hoping Hernandez will be. Whether or not he comes back to bite United on the bum in this one, I'm not too sure. But who do you think is going to win this game? Is it going to be Manchester United, or is it going to be the Hammers? Vote in the poll up there right now.
Now hold your horses, Josephine, because the first leg of Super Sunday is Tottenham versus Newcastle. The early kickoff, and hilariously, last time these boys played, Newcastle routed Tottenham with 10 men, and it meant that Arsenal finished above them in the Premier League on the last of the season, did it not, Patrice?
I do remember that, and yes, it did.
So they'll want to exact their revenge, but have they got the weaponry for it, Joseph? Because Tottenham are yet to strengthen this summer. Their rivals pulling ahead of them in the transfer market. What do you make of it?
Well, they've had a horrible window. They've not added any depth. They've lost their starting right back to a direct rival in Kyle Walker going to Manchester City. Okay, they got a lot of money for him, £50 million, but he was a starter for them at the end of the day. And they're being linked with absolutely nobody. I mean, they were linked with Ross Barkley earlier in the window, but now Chelsea want him, so it looks like they've missed out. They were linked with Serge Aurier earlier in the window. Now Man United want him, looks like they missed out. Where else are they going to go? I'm not too sure where their options lie in the market, and they definitely need cover for certain positions. Christian Eriksen last season, the key creator, 15 assists, 8 goals, incredible performances, incredible output. Who's his cover? Do you rely on Lamela? I'm not too sure you do. I don't think he's got that presence in the team. He'll probably be the backup behind him, and he's so injury prone.
Remember when they were linked with the likes of Isco and Rodriguez?
Yeah, what's happened to that? Well, there's a lot of media outlets in Britain reporting that they've been crippled by the financial restraints that the new stadium build has put on them, which is part of the reason that they're not signing anyone. But is that bench, Harry Winks, etc., strong enough? And Newcastle are at home. It's the first game back in the Prem. The fans are going to be bang up for it, and they've made some exciting signings as well.
Well, yeah, they've bought 5 players already this summer for about £31 million, which isn't that much if those are actually Premier League quality players. Now they've got Murphy in from Norwich, they've got Christian Atsu in, who was, of course, on loan there last season. Mikel Merino has come in on loan from Dortmund with an option to buy. Javi Manquillo, who, of course, played for the Black Cats, their local rivals previously. And Florian Lejeune, who's coming from Eibar in La Liga. Now, The good thing for Newcastle was their squad was probably Premier League quality already.
Yeah.
When they went down the season before, you didn't really feel like they should have gone down. There's plenty of quality there. Mitrovic, frustrating player, but talented.
Yeah.
Ayoze Perez, very talented. Dwight Gale always scores when he gets on the field. And of course, people like John Joe Shelvey, Isaac Hayden, the Arsenal Academy player. But the main thing for me about Newcastle is they've just got a manager who knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So often we see teams come up from the Championship and what they don't have is a solid defence. And we know that Benitez is going to keep that defence stable. So yeah, I think that Newcastle, at the very least, I think they'll comfortably stay up this season. I think their defence is going to be interesting, but we'll come on to that a little bit more when we get to our fantasy football picks.
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
I agree. They are punching well above their weight when it comes to Rafa Benitez.
Yeah.
He's such a safe pair of hands. And talking of a safe pair of hands, Harry Kane is chasing his 3rd consecutive Premier League Golden Boot. The last player to manage this, who was it, Pato? Yes, that's right. It was Thierry Henry from 2003 to 2006. Now, he is a notoriously slow starter. It took him 5 games to get his first goal last season.
Makes it even more impressive how many he scored, though.
Yeah, exactly. But, Joseph, the big question is, will he outscore Romelu Lukaku?
I don't think he will. I think Big Rom is going to pick up the Golden Boot this year with the likes of Mkhitaryan around him. I genuinely do. I think Pogba and him are going to be a lethal partnership. And I think Rashford and him, combination-wise, the last players that won 19 and 9 at Man United and combined effectively, York and Cole. All I'm saying.
I mean, Kane was averaging 1.09 goals per game last season.
That's incredible.
So I'm going to go for Harry Kane. If I throw Lacazette into that equation, who would you pick?
Still Harry Kane.
Still Harry Kane. But who would you pick? Let us know in the comments below.
Now we come to the meat and potatoes of the show. Yes, it's the fantasy football. Like I said, you can still join our league. The details are below in the description. We have got all of us in the league. We've also got pundits in the league. We've got Gary Neville in there. We've got Statman Dave in there. We've got Max Rushton. We've got all your favourites from Stat Wars, the champions in there, to be honest. It's going to be epic. But each week, we're also going to be asking for your questions about fantasy football. You can bang them in the comments right now using the hashtag SkySportsFF, and we'll endeavour to answer as many as possible on next week's show. But first, let's have a look at our own teams. Pato, who have you picked first?
Kevin Ogetinega Tamaraibi Bakumo Abraham. That's what I've got up front.
Wow.
Also known
Only
as
you would
Tammy
say that
Abraham.
name. Only you would say that name.
Now, was he
Well-
your first pick or just the pick you want to discuss first?
Well, he was a bit of both, actually.
Ooh.
Like I ummed and ahed, but look, he's £8.6 million on the draft, which
Cheap,
for a striker
really
is cheap as chips. And I've got him up front pair with Alexis Sanchez. But let's not go into that. Look, I think he's going to start this season at Swansea. Obviously, we know Fernando Llorente sidelined with injury. And I think that he'll be really, really good. He's 19 years old, so he's actually nearly a month younger than our very own Zach Gelab.
Wow.
The
What a
Yeti
stat.
himself.
The only shout out he's getting on this show.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. And like Zach Gelab, also huge.
Really?
Also a huge man.
Yeti.
Yeah, Zach Gelab, don't care how tall he is, but very taller than he should be. But Tammy Abraham, 6'4", an inch
Really?
taller than Nemanja Vidic even.
Because he's quite wiry as well, isn't he?
He is
I would
very
never
thin.
have
He's
thought
very
that.
fast as well. So you see him dribble and you're like,
Wow.
this guy can't be as big as he is. And then he stands up straight, when he's not leaning forward over the ball. And you think, oh my God, this guy's absolutely massive. Great in the air, 23 goals and 3 assists in the Championship last season. And like I said, he is a bargain.
Does he start over Llorente, though?
Llorente's injured at the moment, and I
Good
think
point.
in the long run he probably will. Of
Freaking
course,
hell.
Chelsea might still come back for Llorente. My one worry is if Chelsea sell Sigurdsson, will they be able to make the chances? But my issue is who you've got up front, because you know what? I reckon it's going to be a Man United.
Yeah, no surprise, it is. And it's Romelu Lukaku.
Oh, you suck.
There is a good reason for this, though. And the main one is, first game, I want to start with a bang. We're playing West Ham. And Rom loves playing West Ham. Before the 0-0 in April, he had scored in 9 consecutive fixtures against West Ham United.
Whoa.
He's also making his debut at Old Trafford in the number 9 shirt. There's pressure on him to impress, and I think he will. He's up front in my team with Gabriel Jesus. Bit of an interesting one, but bear with me. Pre-season, Pep has played him in a 3-5-2, and I think that's how Pep is going to start the season. In pre-season, the games that Man City have won and won comfortably have been in the 3-5-2.
Really?
Both against Tottenham Hotspur and against Real Madrid, 4-1 and 3-0. And Gabriel Jesus has been electric.
He said that Tottenham game was his best game.
Yeah, 100%. 0.95 goals per 90 last season in just 664 minutes as well.
Sounds unsustainable.
Which is unbelievable. But he also
nuts.
creates 1.5 chances a game, which is
is
really good for a striker. And that was without Sergio Aguero last season.
I don't disagree that he's a great player. My one worry is whether he's going to get on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's a risk, but I think it's a risk worth taking.
Never mind Gabriel Jesus, Joseph. One man who is going to get the minutes is Liverpool's £40 million new signing. It's the Egyptian, it's Mohamed Salah. 15 goals and 11 assists last season. His highest return to date. We waxed lyrical about him on EFD at every given opportunity. What do you mean he's in your team?
Of course he's in my team.
I thought we came to a gentleman's agreement.
9.4 million. I'm
Dog,
having
he
it.
is an absolute steal at 9.4. I think he's going to be brilliant in Klopp's high-pressing, counter-attacking system. Do you know what? For a wide man as well, he gets off an awful lot of shots, which is also a great sign, isn't it? He's averaging 2.6 shots per game. 1.5 of them are coming from inside the box, which shows you they're not speculative efforts. They're actually really, really good. But to accommodate signings like this, Pato, you need to make sacrifices. Or do you? Do you, though? Can you conduct savvy business in that £7 million mark? Who is your bargain buy?
Well, I got for under £8 million Pascal Gross out of Brighton. Now, it sounds
Such a hipster pack.
It's not a hipster move. It's not a hipster move. Firstly, I did it so that I could have Eriksen, De Bruyne, Salah and Sterling in my midfield.
Greedy.
And my last midfielder is Pascal Gross, So he's a 26-year-old German. He spent the last 2 seasons in the Bundesliga with Ingolstadt. And last year, in terms of chances created per game across Europe's top 5 leagues, he was 7th.
Wow.
He was 7th. He's ahead of Christian Eriksen, ahead of De Bruyne, ahead of Neymar. This guy's creating huge numbers of chances per game. He's going to take every set piece for Brighton this season, and I imagine they'll probably be quite reliant on set piece goals because teams that come up usually are. Plus, he makes more than 3 tackles and interceptions per game. And a little birdie has told me that there might be points for tackles and interceptions this season if you reach a certain mark. So he's straight into my team. Plus, he'll play every game. You know he will, because who are Brighton going to?
Weren't Ingolstadt relegated?
They were second bottom. What of it?
Oh dear.
He was involved in a
How was
quarter
he
of their goals.
performing that well?
Yeah, well, it turns out none of his teammates can finish a packet of crisps.
Could be an absolute steal.
If they've even got a guy this season who can do what, of course, Chicharito Hernandez is so great at and boot the ball into his own face and then into the net, then I reckon that Pascal Gross will get some numbers.
Not a bargain transfer per se,
Why are
as
you
Pascal
breaking the
Gross
rules?
is.
Rude, if anything.
But I think a sneaky transfer, Cesc Fabregas at £9.4 million. I would have a little look at him and I'll tell you for why. Bakayoko has come into the team and he's injured.
Yeah.
He's injured and he's out until at least
Classic.
October with a knee problem. And Cesc Fabregas has started the majority of pre-season in a midfield 2 with Kante. I think that if Fabregas starts the season well, he'll continue to play in that position. And Bakayoko might be a backup, which would be interesting. Last season, Fabregas got 12 assists. He was creating over 4 chances per game. So even if he does slip to the bench, he's guaranteeing you output from midfield. And at that price, I mean, there's players like Andre Gray who are 9.5. So it's hard to argue he's not a cheeky bargain anyway, because he's unbelievable and he's going to start.
When you put it like that, would you pay 9.4 mil for 12 league assists? Yes.
Yes,
you would.
100%.
I mean, my bargain buy isn't quite as interesting, so I'll be really quick with it. It's Aaron Moy of Huddersfield. He only cost me 7.5 million.
What a player.
He was involved in 14 goals for Huddersfield last season. He's cost them 10 million this summer. He averages around 70 passes a game. He creates 2 chances. He's the linchpin. He's the hub of that side. But talking of sides, let's take a look at some of the early birds of our league's picks. We go straight in with Show Me the Mane. And this is Kenneth McQueen's team. And already I'm looking at Ruben Loftus-Cheek at 7.3 as a potential bargain if the ball gets him playing. What are your views on Kenneth's picks?
My issue with Kenneth's team is it's called Show Me the Mane, but is there Sadio Mane in that team?
There is no Sadio Mane.
You're a fraud, Kenneth.
You're a disgrace, Kenneth.
And he's made the mistake of bringing Andre Gray in at £9.5 million. What a horrible transfer
Raheem
that is.
Sterling is 9.8. Raheem Sterling is 9.8.
That is awful from you, Kenneth McQueen. There's other teams that we're going to analyse, isn't there?
Yeah. What you saying from Ryan Dibley, who has seemingly hacked the game already? What a sportsman.
That's
He signed 2 players for a combined 8.2 mil, Goldson and Cargill. They look like rejects.
They're
They're not going to play though. They're not going to play.
real.
That's going to cost him.
But people are falling into this trap, aren't they, of bringing in really cheap defenders that play okay because they're still going to get you points. But cheap defenders that aren't going to play. He's got Leighton Baines in his team who got 100+ points last season. That's the same as one of his prolific forwards that he's clearly sacrificed his defence for. So I'm not sure about that tact. Guys, who is your bargain transfer? Who's your best pick? Let us know in the comments below with the hashtag SkySportsFF so we can pick them out easily. Joe, what should the beautiful people do next?
Yes, sign up to the league. Like I said, all the details are in the description below. You can win first week, most points, Adidas Nemesis. Also, you can win £5,000 every single Super Sunday on Sky Sports. £5 grand.
I could quit this
with
job.
the Sky Sports Fantasy 6-a-side app. So sign up, it's worth it, believe us. Like Chris said, get your questions in using the hashtag SkySportsFF in the comments here and on Twitter because we're replying to those people too. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the first episode of The 12th Man. Hope you enjoyed the set and we'll catch you next time.
Hi-yo.
Sayonara.